What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Dead Rising and the past, present and future of what this franchise could look like. And I want to talk, guys, in this segment of the show about Dead Rising 5 in particular, the, anticipated continuation of the Dead Rising franchise and everything that we know so far about the title and everything, guys, from the rumblings, the speculation that's going around about Dead Rising, the question marks around if this title is even going to happen. And I think what we need to do, guys, is really talk about where we were in Dead Rising, from the past perspective to where we are now and, how we can maybe predict what's going to happen in the future. So let's talk about it. So first and foremost, guys, the most important way for us to discuss whether or not a game or a franchise is going to get a continuation or not is, typically speaking, we've talked a lot that there are always going to be one of two things that could go right or wrong for a franchise in order for it to have a continuation of some sort or another. The first being, guys, of course, the sales of a franchise or of an IP or a single game within that franchise. The sales, guys, at the end of the day, it really all comes down to money. So for these studios and, the developers, the publishers, they want to make money, obviously, guys. And so that's what really comes down to is the bottom line. So if that looks good, that's kind of the first step. Secondly is the reception around the title. Is it getting good reception, bad reception, or is it just kind of mediocre? A lot of those things as well can really play a part in getting a continuation or not. So the way that we have to look at this, guys, is the latest game or, the latest main addition to this franchise was Dead Rising 4, which was released in December of 2016, guys. Now, as far as the reception is concerned, which is, of course, one of the two things that could really dictate whether you're going to get a continuation or not, the reception was mixed or average reviews from critics, this is all coming to us according to review aggregator Metacritic. So Metacritic, guys, has it at a 74 out of 100 on PC, PS4 a 72 out of 100, and the Xbox One is 72 out of 100. Destructoid give it a 7.5 out of 10, Game Informer 8.75 out of 10, GameSpot 7 out of 10, IGN 8.1 out of 10. That's pretty good. I mean, it's not terrible, certainly above average, if you ask me. I think that when we look at that, that'll do, guys, for without a doubt. That is certainly, those numbers are pretty good. I mean, you're above 500, and I think that, when you look at that, I see, yeah, definitely this game could get a continuation based on the reception alone. But really, guys, what it comes down to is as of April 2017, the game has sold under 1 million copies, short of Capcom's expectation of 2 million. So, that's pretty tough. When we look at, just obviously, guys, the expectation there from Capcom was 2 million copies, and they sold less than 1 million. Ben Yahtzee Croshaw of Zero Punctuation ranked both the game and Frank's Big Package third on his list of the 5 worst games of 2017, calling them a stripped-down, tarted-up holiday special of a Dead Rising game with none of what makes Dead Rising good. And that was something that a lot of people complained about, guys. Even though the reviews, typically speaking, were above average, lots of people thought that Dead Rising was kind of moving away from what made it so great in the first place. Look, I think at the end of the day, guys, what it really comes down to here is the expectation that Capcom had. They expected to sell at least 2 million copies. They sold less than 1 million copies, and that's a pretty big discrepancy there. Now, as far as the sequel is concerned, guys, a sequel to the game titled Dead Rising 5 was in development at Capcom Vancouver. The game was set between Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 3 and would have followed the adventures of Chuck and Katie Green in Mexico. The project was canceled when Capcom Vancouver shut down in 2018. So Obviously, guys, Dead Rising 5 was on the minds of those over at Capcom, okay? Even though Capcom's expectations for Dead Rising 4 definitely did not meet those expectations, they had still greenlit Dead Rising 5. So this leads us, guys, to the cancellation of Dead Rising 5 and what this means, for the future, what we could expect from the possible continuation here of this franchise, because it's certainly on the minds of those over at Capcom. Even though Capcom Vancouver got shut down, they could, of course, have another team over at Capcom definitely take the reins here with Dead Rising 5. This is an article, guys, written by Jay Brody Shuri of Screen Rant. A new video goes into the troubled development of Dead Rising 5, revealing a number of issues that ultimately resulted in the game's cancellation. A new video details the development cycle of Capcom's ill-fated Dead Rising 5, including some very deep-rooted problems that took hold behind the scenes, which sent the game to the grave just a few months after its announcement. The zombie slaying, makeshift weapon crafting sandbox series had previously been a powerhouse franchise in its earlier years, spawning no less than 4 mainline games and even a tie-in film since it first burst onto the Xbox 360 back in 2006. This all changed when Capcom attempted a 5th Dead Rising game in 2018. Despite initial optimism regarding the new sequel, this planned Dead Rising 5 would eventually be canceled a few months later, causing longtime series developer Capcom Vancouver to shut down and effectively ending the franchise for the time being. Since then, fans have been left wondering what the new game would have entailed, as well as what circumstances caused the project to go so wrong so quickly. So now Liam Robertson, Game History Secrets, has provided some insight into these previously unanswered questions. In a recent video that was posted on the Did You Know Gaming YouTube channel, Robertson details the history of the Dead Rising franchise, including the chaotic development of the ultimately unreleased 5th installment. Apparently, Dead Rising 5 would have starred Dead Rising 2 lead Chuck Green and his now-grown daughter, Katie, who would have psychic abilities due to her continuing zombie infection as they battle a drug cartel and another zombie apocalypse in a setting far more vibrant than past titles. So right there, guys, that tells you a little bit about what this game was going to be about. Now, we're not saying that, Dead Rising 5 is going to be about this still when it, if it does get greenlit once again. But this sounds like an interesting concept. I think I like that it's, a setting far more vibrant. I like, when I hear that, that sounds pretty appealing. However, at the helm, a completely inexperienced team and licensing issues arose over the game's planned use of Unreal Engine 4, which ultimately led Capcom to pull the plug on the game altogether. Even before the disastrous development cycle of Dead Rising 5, the series had already begun to enter rocky territory with the wildly divisive Dead Rising 4, which was rushed through production for a lackluster release in 2016. Critical reception was mixed, and many fans disliked the game's even goofier tone, and the fact that several key components from past entries were stripped out, such as the tension-inducing time limits on the campaign that defined Dead Rising as a series. The finished product ultimately sold so poorly that 1/5 of Capcom Vancouver staff had to be laid off prior to the official announcement of Dead Rising 5, with the studio being shuttered shortly thereafter. So let's talk about this, guys. So, Dead Rising 4 obviously had a lot of issues, and it kind of led us into Dead Rising 5. Capcom, what they should have done, in my personal opinion, would have been to kind of really, pump the brakes on the Dead Rising franchise and really kind of almost, build a new team there, because obviously what they were doing with Dead Rising 4 was not working. They almost needed to really just kind of cut ties with certain elements of that team and what was going on over there, and kind of just take their time rebuilding the franchise and kind of building a solid game off of, pretty much the past 3 entries, not so much Dead Rising 4, that is, and kind of change things, in a major way, and kind of go from there. I feel that, obviously when we talked about the sales, so it didn't meet Capcom's expectations. So that right there should have led Capcom to say, okay, we need to pump the brakes on this franchise right now. We're doing something wrong. We need to kind of evaluate and go from there. And they didn't do that. They really just kind of moved right into Dead Rising 5 with the same team. And ultimately, guys, the writing was on the wall that it was going to get, canceled at some point or another. And then ultimately, the worst part of this is that the studio got shuttered and shut down, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and that's a really unfortunate thing, which I think could have didn't necessarily have to happen if things would have, if they would have, over at Capcom, if they would have kind of dealt with the situation a little bit differently. This certainly would have helped the game's ultimately ill-fated development cycle, so it may be the best that it simply never came to fruition. Perhaps Dead Rising 5 could have turned the series around due to its more colorful setting and interesting story, but the project was sadly not to be. One day can be hoped the Dead Rising franchise might be rebooted to new success. For now, though, all fans can do is check out the story of the troubled Dead Rising 5, a saga that has seemingly killed off Capcom's once well-regarded series with a blow that not even the undead could weather. So look, guys, here's the thing. At the end of the day, do I think that Dead Rising will return someday? Absolutely. I just think that they got to get fresh, some different, creators in there, different, a different team in there that has a fresh idea on Dead Rising and the direction that they can take. I like, Dead Rising, the whole point of it is a goofier tone, right, than other, zombie games out there. I would like them to move in a direction with Dead Rising 5, if they were to reboot it once again. I would really like to see them go in a direction of a more serious tone. I think that could be really good for Dead Rising. A lot of people would compare it to like Dead Island or, Left 4 Dead, so on and so forth. But I really think that making a more serious, approach to it, but still with the same, kind of keeping the core of Dead Rising might not be a bad idea for them moving forward. And that's what I would like to see in Dead Rising 5. Do I think it's going to come out? Absolutely, guys. This was once a very well-known, game for Capcom. Sure, obviously, we're going to have to kind of wait and see. I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out, but I think the direction that they were thinking of going in with Dead Rising 5 was the right one, a vibrant tone and hopefully a more serious tone. I think that would have been really good for Dead Rising 5. We'll never know unless we get a reboot and they tell us that they're kind of going to continue what they had already started in the early days of Dead Rising 5. Look, Dead Rising still has a big fan base, guys. I want to see the continuation of it. The question is, though, do you want to see a continuation of Dead Rising? And in the form of Dead Rising 5, a soft reboot, what is it that you guys would want to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Dead Rising 5 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. I've been excited about Outriders, this upcoming title from People Can Fly, and this is a title, guys, that reminds me of Gears of War. It's kind of seems to be somewhat of a spiritual successor to Gears of War, a little bit of a Destiny feel to it. Amongst a couple other, shooters out there, this seems to be definitely an aggressive approach since People Can Fly worked on Gears of War in the past, that being Gears of War Judgment. I think that this is definitely an approach to have a title that can compete against the likes of Gears of War, and I love that. The more competition, it definitely keeps people on their toes. It definitely helps in many ways, guys, because the more competition that there is in a specific space, the better quality content typically we're going to see, whether that be from, say, People Can Fly with Outriders or a future entry in the Gears of War franchise. So I want to talk about everything that we know now about Outriders, and we've made content on the YouTube channel about Outriders in the past. You guys can check out all that content here on the YouTube channel, but I want to talk about right here, right now, what do we all know about this title? So let's get into it. So guys, this is an article written by Jordan Oleman of Games Radar. Learn more about Outriders, a new third-person looter shooter from People Can Fly. People Can Fly is striking out into the unknown with a new IP in the form of a spacefaring shooter known as Outriders. This Square Enix published title is headed to next-gen consoles and blends together a few genres. It's a peculiar three-player co-op looter shooter with a distinct focus on storytelling and gunplay. This makes sense given the studio's storied history making crunchy shooters. So what is Outriders? Outriders is a third-person looter shooter from story developers People Can Fly. The studio is well known for its 2004 debut Painkiller and later its work on the Gears of War franchise, and then in 2011 they co-developed Bulletstorm and would later go on to aid development of Fortnite's pre-Battle Royale iteration, Save the World. The studio bought itself out of its agreements with Epic Games in the middle of the decade to work on its own IP, which turned out to be Outriders. So, published by Square Enix, It's a magic-infused RPG where players can pick classes and create custom builds, embarking on missions from social hub areas. The story dictated by plentiful cutscenes and branching dialogue with NPCs. It can be played solo or up to 3 other players in co-op. So here's a big part of this, guys. It's a full package. You've got the single player, you've got multiplayer and co-op. So whenever I talk about, these, AAA titles that are coming out, guys, I always love to see full packages. I mean, I think every AAA title should be a full package, having a single player story, co-op missions as well, co-op, modes as well, and multiplayer. So as far as the release date is concerned, guys, Outriders has actually been delayed slightly. It was supposed to come out late 2020, but now it is slated for February of 2021. Take that release with a pinch of salt due to everything going on in our world right now, guys. A lot of game titles out there are getting pushed back because of, the developers having to work from home and such. So take it with a pinch of salt. Right now it's slated for February 2021. Maybe it'll come out later on. I'll definitely keep you guys posted as more information comes out on that. What is the premise? The story of Outriders is somewhat influenced by Polish folklore and follows a band of soldiers who are corrupted by a force of unknown origins known as the Anomaly, whilst trying to colonize the planet Enoch. It kills many of the invading troop and corrupts the rest with some sort of infectious virus. Awake after a deadly infection, the survivors split off into desperate factions, including gruesome tribes and scientists focused on technology. You're left in the middle of this civil war on a failed colonization project of a planet which is now full of terrible beasts, as well as the worst animal of all, other humans, some which are totally corrupted by the Anomaly, leaving little trace of humanity in their system. So a very interesting story, guys. Can't wait to see what that's all about. I think it definitely sounds pretty unique, and that's what I love about it. The game kicks off with the protagonist arriving on Enoch with the colonizing force before jumping through time 30 years after the colonizers awaken the Anomaly. So how does Outriders play? During previews, the developers were quick to decry those trying to pin it down as a live service game in the same vein as the Division or Destiny, due to the fact that Outriders contains a fixed narrative with a beginning and an end. However, it's very easy to compare Outriders to games of that ilk. It has an Anthem-esque hub with native NPCs, shops to sell items, and triggers to start missions. So hopefully, guys, this isn't a title that is riddled with a ton of different microtransactions, things of that nature. Hopefully this is more of a, having more earnable items than payable items. It's fine to have microtransactions, but I think, guys, it'd be nice to have more of the earnable items than the payable items. And those earnable items should be way better than the payable items, in my personal opinion, as I've always said on the YouTube channel. Outriders is taking a bold stance against pay to win, and it won't feature any loot boxes. It's also composed by Einan Zur of Fallout fame and offers narrative choices via branching dialogue trees through it's unclear what ramifications your choices will have on the game world just yet. This means that it isn't just up to the developers to balance the game with one blanket difficulty. The players can pick and choose how they want to experience it. Given the focus on story components, some may want to just play the game in a cinematic fashion with little challenge compared to those who want to grind for endgame loot against the more tricky enemies in Outriders. So look, guys, here's the deal. We know, the thing I love about what Square Enix and People Can Fly are doing here with Outriders is we do know a decent amount just based on the, the different trailers that have come out, gameplay that has been shown. We saw, more recently, guys, more, gameplay and things of that nature. What I love, though, is that they're not really, kind of spoiling everything for us with the whole story and all the mechanics, all those things. A lot of those things they're actually just leaving to us to try out when the game comes out in February. We don't have to wait much longer. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the game is polished, finished, guys, when it comes out in February. But we'll have to wait and see. We know a decent amount about the game at this point, but there's still some mystery to it, which is what I really like about it. And these are the things that we know so far. I gotta say, guys, this is coming, really climbing the ladder of my most anticipated games for 2021 at this point in time, guys. I'm very excited for Outriders. Are you excited about it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Outriders content and videos, stay here. with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel quite a bit about Dragon Age and this franchise looking forward. And now, guys, what I'm so excited about is that Dragon Age is confirmed to have a continuation here, which is absolutely amazing, guys. It's really cool that, especially even at the Game Awards, games that we've been talking about here on the YouTube channel. By the way, you guys can check out all of my Dragon Age content here on the YouTube channel, but I've talked about Dragon Age 4 or the next, the sequel, the continuation of Dragon Age. And it's awesome to see that we're finally getting that, that's finally coming, guys. And we're kind of starting to see our first, sneak peek of what this game is going to be all about. And I'm really excited to dive into everything that we know so far about the upcoming Dragon Age. So let's talk about it. So guys, in an article written by Lauren Morton of PC Gamer, here are all the hints we've collected about Dragon Age 4 story, characters, and plot. Now, in the article, everyone seems to be calling it Dragon Age 4. It seems like it was just called Dragon Age, I believe, just from the trailer itself. But maybe it will be called Dragon Age, something else or another, and kind of have a, maybe it will be called Dragon Age 4. Maybe it won't be. It's hard to say. Kind of like Dragon Age Inquisition or something. It's hard to say what the title is going to be, but we'll go with Dragon Age 4 at this point. So Dragon Age 4 was for several years one of the most open secrets in gaming after the ending of Dragon Age Inquisition's final DLC made it very clear that the saga of Thetis was far from over. We've been expecting another Dragon Age game to follow it. BioWare spent years dodging any official confirmation that the fourth game was in the works, but now BioWare have said in no uncertain terms that they're working on the next Dragon Age game, though we still know precious little about it from 2 teaser trailers, a behind-the-scenes video, and some concept art. We still haven't actually gotten a proper look at Dragon Age 4's gameplay or heck, even a title, but BioWare have begun to sprinkle out teasers more frequently as of summer 2020. So here's the newest of what we got for Dragon Age 4, guys. During the Game Awards in 2020, BioWare showed off a new teaser trailer for the next Dragon Age game. Sadly, we still don't know its official title, though the new trailer does at least seem to confirm one returning character, Dwarven Archer Varric Tethris, who was a party member in both Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. Aside from that, the trailer also confirms that, as is Dragon Age tradition, BioWare will be picking up a new protagonist for the next game. So here's the deal. Guys, obviously, it doesn't seem like we have an official title, but maybe it is called Dragon Age, and it's like a soft reboot almost of Dragon Age. Kind of maybe or maybe not. It is what it's, we don't know for sure yet what this title is, but maybe it is just called Dragon Age. It's really hard to say. So the release date, we don't have a release date for Dragon Age 4 yet. There are still a lot of things we don't know about the game. We do know that it's likely still quite a ways off. In August 2020, then General Manager Casey Hudson described Dragon Age 4 as still in early production. So let's put it like this, guys. We've got our teaser trailer. I'm assuming we're going to hear more about Dragon Age probably either next year, 2021, or 2022. And, once we hear more, I think we'll probably, the next time we hear about Dragon Age, we'll probably get gameplay. Hopefully we get an official release date, and I would say that'll probably be 2023. But hopefully it's not much further after that. Maybe it is. It's hard to say. Obviously, we want BioWare to take their time with this title. We want this to be the best thing, the best title in the Dragon Age franchise. So in BioWare's September 2019 update, on its blog, Hudson amidst news about Anthem's future said, "One of our projects has a large and growing team in Edmonton working through pre-production, and based on the progress I'm seeing, I can confirm that indeed the Dreadwolf rises. The good news is that BioWare is no longer allergic to publicly acknowledging the returning to Thetis. The bad news is that Hudson mentioned this quasi-unnamed project was still in pre-production at the time. For games the size that BioWare makes, this means there's still a long road ahead." So like I said, guys, it's really hard to say. It's hard to say whether fiscal 22 is an ambitious estimate or an extremely cautious one, so we'll just have to wait to hear more. I would say, guys, like I said, we'll probably see, Dragon Age or Dragon Age 4 in, probably 2022, 2023. The Gamescom 2020 opening night live show gave us a look at some of the early production of Dragon Age 4. The video shows off concept art, some 3D environments, a bit of voice acting production, and some gameplay prototypes. It's a bit too early to count anything seen as true Dragon Age 4 gameplay, but getting a look at the process is something at least. Dragon Age might still be far out, but the trailer successfully sells the excitement of returning to BioWare's fantasy world, which I think at the end of the day, that's what everyone's excited about, that we're at least returning back to Dragon Age. The very first teaser for Dragon Age 4 was during the Game Awards. It was a very brief video with voiceover from Solus, the Dread Wolf himself, who we're definitely assuming will Dragon Age 4's antagonist. We're definitely assuming that. So, is Dread Wolf Rises the title for Dragon Age 4? It could be, or it might just be a statement about the plot. Whether or not the game is named after our friend Solus, he will certainly be playing a pivotal role, it seems. So Dragon Age 4 will be a story about having no power. In the Gamescom trailer, lead writer Patrick Weeks described how Dragon Age 4's story will diverge from Inquisition. For the game we're working on now, we want to tell the story of what happens when you don't have power. What happens when the people in charge aren't willing to address the issues, Weeks said. From the sound of it, BioWare is aiming for the story and its characters to feel a little less important to the world than in Inquisition, which Dragon Age games have typically followed the rise of a seemingly inconsequential hero to a position of power, though it also sounds as if Dragon Age 4 will follow a character who never breaks into Thetis' traditional power structures. I like the concept of it. I think that story, of not having any power is a really interesting one, guys. I think I might like that a lot. Now, which characters are going to return here to Dragon Age 4 or Dragon Age? Solus, it seems like Solus will be returning, guys. Varric Tethris will be returning. Dragon Age has a history of reusing characters like Alistair, who was a companion in Origins in return for appearances in the 2 sequels, or Liliana, who shares a similar trajectory. It's safe to say that we'll see some more familiar faces in Dragon Age 4, but which ones? So it's hard to say, guys, exactly, because this is all 100% speculation as far as who's going to be returning as well. You can take little things here and there from the different trailers as to maybe which characters are going to be returning, but at the end of the day, guys, it's all speculation. Now, the setting, this might be a little bit, this might be something that we're able to kind of talk about a little bit more. Although it hasn't been officially confirmed, Dragon Age 4 almost has to take place in Tevinter. Not only did the final Trespasser DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition end with the Inquisitor stabbing Tevinter with a dagger, but there have been plenty of very promising signs leading us to the Mage Run country in the north since then. That version of Dragon Age 4 was subsequently canceled as BioWare's Edmonton branch pivoted to assist developing first Mass Effect Andromeda, then Anthem. Dragon Age 4 has since been resurrected under the new codename Morrison. It's possible that the new codename comes with a new location, but setting the next installment of the series in Tevinter feels like a foundational element that likely would not have changed. In 2020, several Dragon Age writers collaborated on a collection of short stories called Tevinter Nights, many of which involve or take place in Tevinter. Most recently, BioWare posted some new shorter stories on their website, which features several characters from the Tevinter Nights collection. So, if you ask me, guys, I think Tevinter makes sense for the next setting. And as far as the gameplay, this is going to be really tough because obviously we didn't see any gameplay up to this point in time, but it will certainly be an RPG, or so one would assume. But beyond that, any real details about Dragon Age 4 are still very hush. From Kotaku's report on the first version of Dragon Age 4, codenamed Joplin, a large chunk of Joplin would center on heists. The developers talked about building systemic narrative mechanics, allowing the player to perform actions like persuading or extorting guards without the writers having to handcraft every scene. The goal was to focus as much as possible on choice and consequence, with smaller areas and fewer fetch quests than Dragon Age Inquisition. In a post to BioWare's blog, Following the teaser trailer from December 2018, Dara wrote that we have been building a new team around a core of Dragon Age veterans, people I've worked with on Dragon Age, Jade Empire, and some of whom I've worked with since the Baldur's Gates days. While that may just be a way to reassure players of the quality the team will produce for Dragon Age 4, it might also mean that BioWare is looking to channel its earliest CRPG roots for its next game. And that's exciting as well, guys. I mean, look, I am hoping that they kind of stick to the roots here of Dragon Age. We want a continuation here to not go too far off the rails and change things in a drastic way like God of War did or others, because I think what they've got going for Dragon Age is working. So I don't think that they should change things unless, you know, this upcoming Dragon Age really doesn't appeal to the audience and to us as fans, so to speak. So is this going to be an online-only experience like Anthem? In early 2018, Kotaku reported that Dragon Age 4 had been rebooted as a live game to better fit with EA's push for games as a service that could continue to generate revenue after initial launch sales. After the report, BioWare's general manager Casey Hudson clarified that live didn't necessarily have to be at odds with what players love about Dragon Age games. In Kotaku's April 2019 report, another source says that Morrison's Critical Path, or main story, would be designed for single player, and that goal of the multiplayer elements would be to keep people engaged so that they would actually stick with post-launch content. BioWare certainly won't be immune to whatever monetization strategies EA enforces. We can hope that the BioWare team manages to fit those goals into a form that doesn't feel at odds with a single-player first experience we expect from Dragon Age game. And I agree with this 100%. We do not. We don't want to feel at odds with the single-player first experience we expect from a Dragon Age game. So here's the deal. I'm hoping EA learned its lesson from, Anthem, and learned its lesson from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Jedi Fallen Order, guys, had no multiplayer whatsoever, which I think was absolutely unfortunate because I would have loved to see multiplayer in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But the single-player experience, it sold very well just with a single-player experience. So can they do that here with Dragon Age? I hope so, but I don't want it just to be single-player. I want it to be a full package, as we've talked about on the channel at nauseum. All AAA titles should have a full package. Single player story, co-op modes, multiplayer modes. It keeps you going back to the game after playing the single player story, after playing the multiplayer, after playing co-op. It keeps you engaged consistently over time. So I'm hoping they do that here with Dragon Age. But I'll be sure to keep you guys all up to speed as more information comes out. This is very exciting, guys, that Dragon Age is coming back in hopefully a major way, in a really big way. Hopefully that this is the best Dragon Age we've had to date. Let me know though, guys, what are you most excited about with Dragon Age? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Dragon Age 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Cyberpunk 2077 has had a shaky launch, to say the least, guys. And look, Cyberpunk, underneath everything that's going wrong with, the console versions and things of that nature, there's something really special here. And I think we can all see that. Outside of the bugs and all the problems going on with the game at this point, there is a special game here. And I do think CD Projekt Red will get it right eventually. It might take some time because this is a really big game and, so on and so forth. But I do think that they are going to right the ship here, and it's going to be a really great experience moving forward. Well, this leads me, guys, to one of the biggest complaints I had about Cyberpunk 2077 was the simple fact, similar to The Last of Us Part 2, did not launch as a full package, even though it's planning on being a full package, that being multiplayer. The Last of Us Part 2 is also in this same boat where it launches and they state that they're going to release multiplayer later on. I think that I would have rather just waited till the entire package was done, because the simple fact of the matter is, guys, is a lot of people, after beating the single player story, are going to move on to other games if there's not other things to do, like multiplayer experiences and things of that nature. Whereas if the game launches with multiplayer and co-op modes and all of those different things at launch, it keeps you engaged in that game and you don't end up leaving that game at all. And I think Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be in the same boat as The Last of Us Part 2, where a lot of people, even when multiplayer comes into the fray and actually does end up being released, a lot of people won't even come back to play the multiplayer because they've already moved on to other, other games, so on and so forth. Well, with that, guys, I want to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer. With the shaky start of Cyberpunk 2077, what does that mean for multiplayer? What does this all mean? Does this mean that there's, multiplayer is going to be delayed in a substantial way? Let's talk about it. In an article written by Connor Sheridan of Games Radar, we may be waiting to team up in Night City for a while. Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer is coming from the same studio that made the single player game, but you may have to wait a while to play it. CD Projekt has been teasing some kind of multiplayer counterpart for Cyberpunk 2077 for a while. Most recently, CEO Adam Kaczynski called it a big, separate standalone production. He clarified that the company is thinking about Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer as its own product. So maybe like Cyberpunk 2077 Online, kind of like GTA Online and, Red Dead Online, like what Rockstar does. Maybe that's kind of the idea that they've got here. Earlier this year, CD Projekt Publishing head Michael Nowakowski explained that it will be a while before the internal processes bear external fruit, given the expected release of Cyberpunk 2077 in September. And frankly speaking, the series of events which we expect to occur after that date. 2021 appears unlikely as a release date for the Cyberpunk multiplayer. So that's not good, guys. We won't be getting it, it seems, even in 2021. That's all we officially know about Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer so far, leaving us with many, many more questions than we have answers. Still, some things are more likely than others. For instance, since CD Projekt Red has already put together its own sprawling yet densely packed version of Night City, there's a good chance that the multiplayer game will take place in the same location. Building on that, it will likely retain the single player game's first-person perspective, so you can still traverse all those claustrophobic corridors and alleyways while minimizing camera problems. Beyond that, we can only speculate. Will it offer free roam multiplayer throughout the city with a big server full of people like GTA Online? Will it have dedicated mission areas and social spaces like Destiny? Or will it do something entirely new that we can't even picture right now? The possibilities are intriguing, especially since we've never seen CD Projekt tackle a multiplayer project like this before. And that is what I'm concerned about, guys, is with this multiplayer, even though I'm very excited about it, the thing I'm concerned about here is the simple fact of the matter that Cyberpunk 2077 as a single-player story did not even launch, in a positive way. It has been riddled with so many issues that the multiplayer, you can only imagine that it's going to be probably even worse than what is right now the single-player story. I'm concerned about it in a major way, guys. But, the things that we know are, that it's going to come at some point, but it might be a long time because they want to get this game right at this point in time before even, considering the multiplayer most likely, unless you already have a team that's really working on it full time and they're not planning on pulling them over to work on the single player, debacle that is going on right now. But ultimately, guys, this game should have released, in my opinion, with multiplayer at the very beginning of it. Single player story, multiplayer, and co-op modes should have been from the very beginning, a full package deal from the beginning, similar to The Last of Us Part 2. But The Last of Us Part 2 did not have nearly as many issues as this is having with the single player story. So under it all, like I said, guys, Cyberpunk 2077 is a very special story underneath all of it. We're just hopefully going to have to wait until they kind of get all of those things in place. And I hope it doesn't really lose a ton of people in the process, which we do know it's losing a lot of people right now. But let me know, guys, in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about the multiplayer elements of Cyberpunk 2077? When do you think we're going to see it? You think it'll be next year? Do you think it'll be 2022, 2023? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Cyberpunk 2077 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.